I hope you're having a great day. Today I want to talk about the fundamentals of autoimmune conditions. We hear this term a lot today, an autoimmune condition. What does it mean? A lot of people think that autoimmune conditions cannot be put into remission, but they can. It's not really a disease that can be reversed. It's a condition that's caused by a flare-up. For example, why does your immune system attack your thyroid gland, like in a Hashimoto's thyroid, which is an autoimmune condition? Or why does your immune system attack your skin, like in a vitiligo, an eczema, a psoriasis disorder? Why does that happen? Why does it attack different parts of your body in a systemic lupus? Why does it affect your spine in a multiple sclerosis? So these are questions that come to our mind when it comes to an autoimmune condition. Of course, the medical treatment which is necessary to actually save lives and prevent deterioration would be an immunosuppressant or a steroid. How does a steroid work? By suppressing the immune system. How does an immunosuppressant work? By suppressing the immune system. So because when you suppress it, it cannot attack you. So all of that inflammation, it gives you some amount of relief at that particular time. It can be life-saving. We shouldn't fight it, but we shouldn't ignore the fact that what is the root cause? What are the triggers that causes your own immune system to attack you? Some people say there's genetics, and yes, it can be. In some cases, like everyone in the family has psoriasis, everyone in the generation has a Hashimoto's thyroid, it's genetic. And if it's genetic, it doesn't mean we can't do anything about it because we know epigenetics. We know that by changing the external environment and internal environment, we can make it better. But what about the autoimmune conditions which are not genetic? Yeah, I've made a list of the things that we've seen over the last 9 years with the amount of autoimmune patients that we've treated around the world. Many and most with success, some without success, because of several reasons. Number one, there is always a trigger that causes your immune system to overreact. Think of your immune system as soldiers. It's the Army, it's the Navy, it's the Air Force. All of them have the job of identifying different enemies and fighting those different enemies. Now, let's go back to the pandemic where everyone was trying to train their immune systems because we knew that if you have a low immune system or a weak immune system, you would get the virus. The difference between someone who got the virus and didn't get the virus was the immune system, period. That's how it is. So that's when you have an underactive immune system or an immune system that's not trained well enough. Now, what happens when your immune system is erratic? It's on the edge. It's like those little soldiers. They've lost the intel. They've lost the intelligence. They don't know which enemy to attack. So sometimes they attack your own body. So now, what are some of these causes? I've made a list of them. Okay, if you have the condition, you may relate to some of them. Sometimes you may relate to even one of them. Let me give you an example. We've had many children with autoimmune conditions and adults too. And the only change we made to literally put their autoimmune condition into remission was by removing that trigger. For example, we had patients, many of them, who were gluten intolerant. They were not just gluten intolerant, they were celiac. What's that? Celiac means you can never have gluten. If you have it, your immune system is going to get erratic and it's going to attack you. So when we found out, mostly through a gut protocol, that gluten didn't suit them, we made them do a test to find out if they were celiac. And they were celiac. And we told them they can never have wheat or gluten again. The moment they removed that trigger, everything went into remission. They never had a single symptom. But the moment they ate it by mistake or by just being careless, the whole condition came back. Something as simple as one ingredient or one particular allergen can cause those group of soldiers to behave erratically. That's how it is. I always talk about, for example, there are soldiers in a contained room and then you throw a stun grenade in. What is a stun grenade? It either creates a bright flash light or sound. And no matter how well trained the soldiers are, how strong they are, they get stunned for a minute because of the change in light. Think of that as one of these triggers that makes your immune system behave erratically. Now let's go over the list. Stress at the top. I'm not talking about day-to-day stress. I'm talking about chronic stress. I'm talking about trauma. I'm talking about post-traumatic stress disorders. I'm talking about when the stress is constant. Think about it. It's common sense. The human body is resilient. We can deal with a little bit of stress here and there. But if stress remains constant and high, what do you think's happening inside of you? Your immune system is always on the edge. Every part of you is always on the edge because that's how anatomy works. That's how the sympathetic nervous system works. When you are in the sympathetic nervous system, which is stress, fight, flight, your blood pressure is higher, your blood sugar levels are higher, your cholesterol's higher, your immune system is always on alert because it doesn't know what's going to happen. But the more time you spend in the parasympathetic nervous system, the better it is. So when you have any autoimmune patient, training them to spend more time in the parasympathetic nervous system is extremely important. Now let's move. If you're stuck in a toxic relationship, it doesn't have to be with your partner. It could be your family, could be your siblings, could be your workplace. When you're constantly surrounded by toxicity or a stressful environment because of people, how do you think your immune system's going to be? So that's one thing to look at. And at the top of our list, chronic stress and anxiety and emotional suppression. When you suppress your emotions for years after years after years, what do you think's happening inside of you? You may be able to project a calm look or low anger scores when you face someone, but inside it's like a pressure cooker waiting to burst. What do you think's happening? It's affecting your immune system in all ways. It's always got you on the edge inside, but outside you're appearing to be calm because of society or the kind of image that you want to project. But the point is, emotional suppression is a huge issue, and chronic stress is a huge issue. Now, everyone's got stress, but it doesn't mean that we do not have the tools and the techniques or the will or the desire to want to make it better. That's number one. Number two, food. Like I said, sometimes it's gluten, sometimes it's dairy, lactose, lactase. Maybe it's all three of them. Because we have poor gut health, after a while, sometimes we create so much of inflammation in our gut. We have a complete change in our microbiome because of antibiotics, because of stress, pollution, antibiotics in food, pesticides in food. All of that disrupts our microbiome. And the foods that we could once upon a time digest, all of a sudden we can't. And those foods would usually be the inflammatory foods like dairy, like gluten. So we need to understand that you got to look at the health of your gut when it comes to autoimmune conditions. Are there certain foods that don't suit you? Are there certain allergens? And of course, a leaky gut syndrome, which has its connection with almost every autoimmune condition. Let's quickly understand what a leaky gut syndrome is. Let me break it down very quickly. Think of a thin fishing net. A thin fishing net with small holes. That's perfect. That's your gut lining. We eat food, it gets digested, and now this little fishing net, they have small little fingers that allow vitamins, minerals, micronutrients to pass through those small holes in the fishing net into your blood, and then your blood carries the nutrients to all the trillion cells in your body. This is perfect. Now, in time, because of poor lifestyle, acidity, constipation, gut dysbiosis, SIBO, antibiotics, chronic stress, sleep deprivation, these little holes in that fishing net get bigger and bigger. What do you think is going to happen? Not only will nutrients and micronutrients pass through, but stuff that is not supposed to pass through and pass out of your system will enter your bloodstream. What do you think is going to happen when the unwanted objects, the unwanted invaders, the unwanted food particles enter your blood? Your immune system rises to the occasion and it starts to attack. It's not trained to do this. As those holes get bigger and there are new foreign bodies that come into your blood, some of this, for example, in a Hashimoto's thyroid, okay? You have your own immune system basically attacking, creating antibodies that resemble your thyroid gland. And now it's so confused, it starts to attack your thyroid gland, thinking it's attacking the right thing. And that's exactly what it is. So is it with your skin, psoriasis, eczema, and vitiligo. It's basically wrong intelligence. So healing your gut lining by changing the way you eat, your lifestyle, solving constipation issues, solving IBS, solving indigestion, gallbladder problems, gallstones, poor bile in your liver health. All of this comes into place of healing your gut lining and playing a role in the healing of your autoimmune conditions or putting it into remission. Then we have dehydration. It's a simple point. It's multifactorial. Dehydration alone will not cause this, but think about it. Even a 1% drop of water in your system puts you in the sympathetic nervous system. You may be calm, you can deal with thirst, but your cells require water. It's a life force. You require it for electrolyte function, which controls electricity in your heart, your brain, your pressure, everything. So your body only cares about survival. It doesn't care about your next meeting. It doesn't care about your six-pack, your size 0 goals. It doesn't care about any of that. All the human body cares about is survival. And do I have everything that I need for survival? Oxygen, nutrients from the food that I eat, and are my organs working the right way for survival? So now, even a 1% drop of water can cause you to spend time in the sympathetic nervous system, upsetting several other functions in the human body. So please understand, all of these are multifactorial. You could have dehydration and another problem, but the point is solving each of them the right way. Substance abuse and smoking, we know, disrupts the microbiome. So right there's nothing more to be said on that. If you have autoimmune conditions, yep, you got to stop using illegal substances, and you got to stop smoking, or at least plant a seed in your mind to slowly start reducing that, or take help if you need it. Then autoimmune conditions are also created when you have vitamin and micronutrient deficiencies, because most of your diet is coming from processed foods and ultra-processed foods. You don't have the right amount of fiber. You don't have the right amount of vitamins and minerals that are required to nourish the thyroid gland, nourish your skin, nourish your bones, nourish your organs. So if you don't have the right raw material, what do you think is going to happen? The building is weak, or the building is incomplete. So that's another problem. Lack of sunlight or too much of sunlight for different people. Sunlight is required. If there was no sun in the world for a couple of days, guess what? All of us would die. All the plants would die, animals would die, and we would die. And today we live lives without even getting the right amount of sunlight exposure. 20 minutes. And sometimes, in very rare conditions, too much of sunlight can affect people who already have autoimmune conditions, so you want to be careful of that. And of course, sleep deprivation. You need to understand, if sleep was not important for the human body, it wouldn't exist. It's not a choice. It is mandatory for every function in the human body. So if you don't sleep, you don't get to be in the parasympathetic nervous system for at least 7 to 8 hours, which means you're spending all that time in the sympathetic nervous system, which means your immune system is always on the edge. It can either cause you an autoimmune condition, keep you on a weak ANA positive, or a mildly positive ANA, but the point is, anytime that trigger could hidden into a full-fledged autoimmune condition. So you need to understand, these are all the points when it comes to holistic lifestyle medicine, nutrition. You cannot just take a steroid and expect it to work. The moment the steroid's off, you'll have the problem again. But yes, there is success with thousands of people across the world who, when they understand that, treat the symptom, but also address the root cause of the problem, guess what? You or your loved one can have a better life, can have a quality life, and you can live in remission, or at least when you know you have a flare-up, you know exactly what you need to do. Have a great day, everyone. Until next time, eat smart, move more, sleep right, breathe deep, and remember, you care is all about you.